Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really unpacking a fascinating collection of observations. Our goal is to explore some highly unusual, mysterious, and, well, potentially unexplained phenomena that people are reporting online and around the globe.
It's quite a mix, isn't it? User reports, online finds, things people are actively tracking.
Exactly. And we've sifted through it all. The mission, like always, is to pull out the key insights, give you that shortcut to being really well informed, even when things get a bit out there.
Sort of connecting the dots on the strange stuff.
You got it. So get ready for a journey into the unexpected. We're covering strange things near the sun, bizarre lights, cryptic messages, even stuff some people think is being deliberately hidden.
Right. It's interesting how these separate reports, when you look at them together, start to paint a picture of, well, a world with a lot more questions than answers, maybe. Especially with the really unusual stuff.
Definitely challenges that urge to find a neat conventional box for
It
everything.
really does.
Okay, so let's kick things off way out there, beyond our atmosphere. There are some incredibly perplexing cosmic anomalies, and they suggest, well, maybe a surprising level of celestial secrecy.
Intriguing. Where do we start?
We're starting with something Scott C. Waring from UFOsightingsdaily.com highlighted. He calls it a bombshell finding, actually. He documented an object in a SOCO image, the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory.
NASA and ESA's project, yeah.
Right, and this object looks like it's siphoning energy or plasma straight from the sun.
Siphoning energy from the sun.
Yeah. Now, if you follow Waring's work, this isn't totally new. He's apparently documented objects before some huge, like Earth-sized or even bigger, appearing to suck energy from the sun.
And the theory behind that is?
Well, his theory is they could be extraterrestrial ships, refueling, using a star for fuel. It's pretty ingenious if you think about it. Can't get much more powerful.
A stellar gas station, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. But what makes this latest SO image really stand out, according to the source, is that it looks like NASA has blacked out whatever the structure is that's attached to the plasma stream. It just looks like a big black cube covering the interesting bit.
Ah, so the observation itself, the siphoning, and then this alleged cover-up, that black cube element brings up that recurring theme you mentioned, this idea of information control.
Exactly. The source suggests the cube isn't the object itself, but NASA hiding it.
And that echoes other things people have pointed out, right? Like that time a triangular object was supposedly seen near the sun?
Yes. Visible one moment, then hours later, just a big black square in its place. Impossible to see what was there.
And these kinds of alleged blackouts, they really fuel that tension, don't they? Between the sheer amount of data available now and the public's suspicion when bits of it seem curated or missing.
Precisely. And that's the worry the source brings up. The implication is, pretty bluntly, that NASA does not want us to see whatever's under those squares.
Which naturally leads to bigger questions.
Right. And it's not just SO images. The source connects this to news from around 2016, I think it was, that NASA was supposedly shutting down the ISS live feed.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about that. And a full media blackout of their space videos starting September 1st of that year.
That's the one. So if they're restricting other space videos, the question becomes, could SOHO images be next? Could we lose access to even these potentially altered observations?
Taking a step back, I mean, the very act of blacking something out, whatever it is they're obscuring, suggests it's considered sensitive,
It
right?
has to be, you'd think.
And that taps into this whole conversation about transparency from official bodies versus, the public's right to know or at least access the raw data.
What happens when people feel like key space data is being hidden?
Exactly. It's less about whether the claims are true or not and more about the effect that perceived secrecy has. It breeds distrust.
Okay, from the vastness of space, let's pull focus back closer to home. Some really baffling things happening right here on Earth, visually speaking.
Ground level mysteries.
Yeah. We've got some pretty amazing footage that's been doing the rounds online. It was filmed by a guy named Roman Tobe. He saw what he called a giant fireball or a massive glowing orb of something.
Where was this?
Moving across a field in Siberia, outside Novosibirsk, Russia. This was back in July. Now, some people were saying, oh, it's ball lightning. But our source seemed a bit skeptical about that label.
Wait, tell me more about the footage and the witness.
Well, Romantov, the guy who filmed it, he's actually a graduate of Nova State Technical University, lives in Canada now, but was visiting Russia at the time.
So an educated observer.
Seems so. And yeah, while ball lightning is the go-to theory for some, or maybe some weird electrical thing, the source pointed out something interesting.
What's that?
Typical ball lightning which is still pretty mysterious science-wise, right?
Yeah.
It's usually thought to be elusive, maybe high up and gone in seconds.
Fleeting.
But this Siberian orb, it was apparently huge, glowing bright, down low over the field, and visible for much longer than you'd expect for typical ball lightning.
Hmm.
It just didn't quite fit the profile.
That really highlights the challenge, doesn't it? Trying to classify something unknown based on visuals alone.
Totally.
Is it just an unusual form of ball lightning or something else entirely? The ambiguity itself is fascinating. It forces you to weigh different possibilities.
And it taps into that basic human need to label things to find an explanation, even for the really weird stuff.
Absolutely. We want patterns. We want answers.
Speaking of weird patterns,
Yeah.
get this. A viewer sent in something they found on Google Maps near Phoenix, Arizona,
Oh, what did they find?
in the middle of the desert. Just strange writing. That's how they described it. We're talking numbers, a big circle, an arrow, then a large letter N with another arrow pointing down.
Writing in the desert, like carved into the ground.
Yeah, large scale, clearly made to be seen from the air, which immediately makes you think, what is that?
Like geoglyphs, almost. But modern.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Is for surveying, some kind of military marker, something else.
Yeah.
Our source pointed out it's really remote. No landing strips anywhere nearby.
Yeah.
Just adds to the puzzle.
So a deliberate, large marking, clearly for aerial viewing, but its purpose is totally unknown.
Exactly.
Baffling.
You know, it's interesting. Both the Siberian orb and this desert writing, they're different kinds of visual mysteries, aren't they?
How so?
One's a dynamic, possibly natural phenomenon behaving unusually. The other seems like a deliberate, static construction with no obvious reason for being there. Both push us to question what we think we know.
Good point. Both leave you scratching your head.
And remind us how tough it is to classify the unknown just based on looking at it.
Yeah.
Lots of room for interpretation or just plain confusion.
Okay, moving from things we see to things we hear and things that move. We got an account from a viewer in the UK Midlands, Northamptonshire specifically.
Okay, what happened there?
They heard a helicopter just circling their house. Sounded close. So they went outside with their iPad to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And they recorded, get this, 6 to 8 lights above the fields hovering in the sky. And the helicopter was still there circling them. The lights.
Hovering lights with a helicopter circling them. Yeah. Apparently, the sound of the chopper fading in and out was what first caught their attention. Made them look up.
Wow. Okay. Was that an isolated report?
That's the kicker. No. We got a second email, someone else near that area also reporting more helicopter activity than usual, and strange lights, too. They even linked it back to an older video about strange sounds over in California.
Huh. So, potential corroboration.
Seems like it. And the conclusion drawn by the source, seeing that helicopter persistently circling these lights, was that these lights were definitely not something natural, or even conventional man-made craft.
The logic being, why else would a helicopter be so focused on them?
Exactly. If it was just a plane or, weather balloons, would a chopper hang around like that?
It's a fair question. That pattern, official or military craft showing up near unexplained phenomena, it does pop up in these kinds of reports quite a bit.
Right.
It suggests that whatever these things are, they're seen as significant enough for someone to send up conventional aircraft to observe or, well, engage with them. Adds another layer of mystery.
Definitely. And on the note of strange sounds, let's widen the lens again. Remember those mystery booms we talked about before in Southern California?
Vaguely, yeah. Loud, unexplained noises.
That's it. Well, since we talked about it, the emails have just been pouring in, not just SoCal anymore. People reporting similar booms from all over the world.
Really? Where else?
Let's see. Boston, Finland, the UK. Besides still happening in Southern California, it seems to be a global thing now.
And what are people saying about these booms? What do they sound like?
The descriptions are pretty consistent. People say it does not sound natural.
Yeah.
That's been going on for a very long time. And crucially, nobody seems to know what it is.
Not even officials?
Apparently not. The source mentioned no one, even the police, scientists don't know what's going on. Just this widespread, baffling noise phenomenon.
Wow. So you've got these mysterious lights, sometimes with conventional aircraft nearby, and these global, unexplained booming sounds.
Yeah, it's a lot.
What's really striking is how these different reports, the lights, the sounds, the lack of official explanation, the global spread, they all share that core element of mystery.
True.
It really shows the power of people sharing their observations, doesn't it? Identifying these wider patterns that might just be dismissed as weird local stuff otherwise.
You start to wonder if there's a connection or what underlying thing could cause such similar strange events worldwide.
And why we can't seem to get a straight answer about any of it, it's deeply puzzling.
Okay, and this leads us to our final segment. This is where things get, well, even more complex, maybe.
Yeah.
Events that suggest information is being deliberately suppressed. The push for truth, as some see it.
Okay, suppressed information. Where are we going with this?
Let's start with Edward Snowden. The U.S. whistleblower. Leaked all those NSA documents back in 2013 about domestic spying. Got asylum in Russia.
Right, Snowden. What about him?
He sent out this really cryptic tweet recently. It just said, "Did you work with me? Have we talked since 2013? Please read Kimberly or talk to Martin Gellman. It's time."
It's time. Who's Barton Gellman?
He's a journalist, actually writing a book right now about Snowden's time in government. And Gellman even replied publicly on Twitter, basically asking for info to help him tell it truthfully.
So Snowden putting out a call, it's time. That does sound significant.
Yeah, the speculation is that something big might be coming out. And of course, there are immediate concerns for Snowden's safety, given everything.
Well, yeah, whistleblowing, especially at that level, carries immense risks. That phrase, it's time, suggests maybe a breaking point, doesn't it? Like, information held back might finally come out.
Could be. It definitely makes you think about the public's role in all this, seeking out information that maybe faces resistance.
And the challenges of preserving it when it's actively withheld or, controversial.
And that brings us to something even darker, perhaps. The Philip Marshall 9/11 cover-up book.
Okay, I think I've heard whispers about this. What's the story there?
Philip Marshall was a pilot, apparently well-respected. He wrote this book alleging a cover-up related to the 9/11 attacks.
Right. Controversial topic, obviously.
Extremely. And our source shared this really unsettling story about just trying to get the book. Their first order, mysteriously canceled.
Yeah.
The seller just vanished from Amazon.
Wow, making it hard to obtain.
Incredibly. They did manage to eventually get a physical copy. They were wary of digital versions potentially being edited, which is interesting in itself.
But why all the difficulty? What happened?
This is the really grim part. According to the source, Philip Marshall, the author, he was murdered along with his entire family, even his dog, all executed with bullets to the head shortly after this book was published.
What? The whole family, shortly after the book came out?
That's the report. And this horrific event, combined with the book suddenly becoming super scarce and expensive. I mean, used copies apparently went from maybe $400 max to upwards of $1,400.
That's a huge jump just because it's out of print and hard to find.
That and the intense demand driven by the belief that this was a deliberate, violent attempt to suppress whatever information is in that book.
Good grief.
That's
These two examples, Snowden's tweet and the story around Marshall's book, they really hammer home the risks, don't they?
They really do.
The risks involved in revealing information that powerful entities might want kept quiet, whether it's state secrets or alternative narratives about major historical events.
Yeah, it shows the lengths some might go to, allegedly, to control the narrative.
Absolutely. And it forces us, again, to think critically about all information. Question official stories, sure, but also question the sources challenging them. Understand the potential motivations behind both sharing and suppressing knowledge.
So after all that, what does it all mean? We've gone from possible alien ships refueling at the sun to glowing orbs in Siberia, weird desert symbols, mystery booms circling helicopters, and then into these really heavy stories about potential cover-ups and suppression.
It's quite a journey through the unexplained and the controversial.
Yeah. And this deep dive, pulling all these different threads together from various sources, hopefully gives you that shortcut. That way to feel well-informed about this whole spectrum of really unusual stuff that's being reported out there. Thanks for coming along with us on this one.
You know, what stands out from all these diverse phenomena isn't just that there are unanswered questions out there. It's also about us, about the human drive to make sense of it all, to categorize, explain, sometimes challenge what we're told.
True. We want to understand.
Exactly. And it often leads us to question the very sources of information we depend on. So maybe the final thought is this. In a world just flooded with data, with events unfolding so fast, what's our individual responsibility? How do we discern truth, connect the dots for ourselves, especially when the information is broken up, hard to find, or maybe even actively hidden?
Something to think about.
Definitely. Keep exploring, keep questioning assumptions, and, just keep engaging critically with the weird and wonderful world around us.